I think
Can you
that
That's
put
what
it
he
on the
said.
record?
He just nodded. It means it's ready to go to bid.
the intent of this section is they don't come up and tell us they want money for something that doesn't exist. They come up and say, here's what we're going to do in the next 2 years. It's ready to go. So Ways and Means then knows that we have 18 projects that they need to proceed with bonding for.
Mr. Garrett, thank you for joining us.
Madam Chair, Senator Johnson, I think Senator Beyer and Senator Boquist answered the question correctly. We have cleared all those hurdles, those encumbrances. We are ready to take the project to construction.
Follow-up. So does that mean that all the projects that we have listed in this bill are also shovel-ready?
No.
Madam Chair, Representative Smith Warner, no, they're at different stages of maturity. So we will bring them, and Senator Boquist spoke to a sequencing and a timing that'll play itself out over the life of the bill. Some projects are ready to go or very close to. Some will play themselves out in the outer years as we continue to inform, bring it through design, preliminary engineering to construction.
That's okay. Never
So
mind.
for the record, that description that you just gave was of the projects in this bill before us.
What I
That they
just
are
said
not
there.
all shovel-ready, they are in various stages of design. And so, and therefore, it may be that just because a project is listed in here, it will not come to fruition because it will not make its way through that process.
It will, more than likely, it will mature through the process and we'll get it to delivery. That is the glide path toward delivering a project.
But having it in here is no guarantee that it will actually go into
Chair.
construction.
It's a fair statement.
One
There
day.
may be some
Senator
issues.
Beyer, and then Senator, Representative Benz.
If I may, the intent is that they will go to construction. It's not a question if they will, it's when.
Correct.
Unless
Representative Benz.
something, I mean, there's always a chance that something will pop up that means you can't do it. But that's true anytime you have a construction
Sure.
project.
But I
But that
would-
is not the intent. The intent that they will be built during the life of the program.
Representative
Started, I
Benz.
shouldn't say completed, but.
I think this particular part of the conversation could be assisted if Senator Boquist could explain the nature of Section 45 and how what the department's being asked to do by the commission in light of the anticipated possible increase in the gas tax.
You want me to start? Sure. First off, if you'll recall, the original draft of this committee in the future was to take on Ways and Means type affectations. And that was decided by the beings above us and everybody else, and for logical bonding reasons in which, to consolidate financial purposes. What the intention of the section is here is that before we increase the gas tax, and you could call it sort of a trigger, but it's not. It's a report to the legislature. It provides the adequate information to the legislature that says, in the next 2 years, we have these 16 projects ready to go. That then allows joint Ways and Means downstairs, because we're using a single consolidated bonding program in the state of Oregon now, in which to say, so Mr. Garrett can come up and say, I need $267,000 in bonding authority in the next 2 years to complete these projects that are in here to go forward. And the information, or reporting information from the Oregon Transportation Commission in these areas is designed to tell us that they've gone through the steps, they're ready to go, and we want the legislature, you're on notice, Oregon Transportation Commission has said we're going to increase the gas tax, it's going to go forward. And then what transpires is the legislature is in possession of the information on an annualized basis, and in this case, every 2 years basis, that we then can turn around and do all the bonding steps in a consolidated process that we have. That's the entire intent of this section. It does not delegate any authority for the legislature. I do want to touch base to remind everybody that while we are, of course, legislators this session, we can't bind a future legislature. So 2 years from now, somebody could in fact change this. 4 years from now, someone could in fact change this, or we could all have buyer's remorse and change it in February in theory. I mean, those are the sequences that are out there. This is designed to set an entire process that we can logically step through so that we don't come back. And if you'll note here, this does go out 7 years, not 6 years, and when you get out to 6 years and you're actually implementing the next tax phase, you're now implementing projects that will go 2 to 4 years beyond that, because some of those projects in year 6 are going to be 4 to 5 year projects. So it's sort of not quite accurate to say it's a 6-year or 7-year plan. It actually will extend farther out.
Representative Benz.
Yeah, I just want to say that I thought this was a clever way of building on the accountability piece we talked about 20 minutes ago. And the concept of shovel-ready as used in this particular section has everything to do with the department coming forward and showing why it's going to be necessary to see that increase in the fuel tax that we built into the bill. I think it helps us go to the taxpayers of Oregon and say, hey, we just haven't turned the department and the commission loose. We put these checks into the process so that we can justify these increases that are further down the road. So it's a very, very clear, I think, means of explaining to the people of Oregon that the department and the commission are going to be going to have to be more accountable to this body.
Senator Johnson.
I want to follow on where Representative Smith Warner left off. And my curiosity is, in looking at the project list, some of these are going to be incredibly complicated projects. I'm not picking on Southeast Powell, but I'm thinking there's going to be right-of-way acquisition. Undoubtedly, some of that's going to be litigated. The question that I have is, how long can projects stay on the to-be-built list and suck up valuable bonding capacity before somebody says, you can't get there from here? And I'm not saying that you can't get there from here on Powell, but I'm just saying some of these are going to require very delicate negotiations, and I don't know how many bonding tranches they move through before somebody finally says, this project cannot succeed.
Senator, I think that will come back before this Joint Transportation Committee once it's formed. And I'm going to look to the director to quantify a little in more detail, but I think that will be the job of us at the end of the day.
I think, Madam Chair, Senator Johnson, legitimate issue. No, we won't bond.
Excuse me, colleagues, I'd love to hear Director Garrett's answer.
Senator Johnson, we will not bond and accrue debt until we have everything cleared. So whether it's one $480 million tranche or several, those will be conversations that we have with the Treasurer's Department. But we will only bring forth, as was mentioned earlier, those projects that are ready to go to be bonded so we can deliver it. We'll continue to work. You're exactly right. There are some very complicated projects, negotiations. But I will tell you, if past is prologue, very few of those go to litigation. We usually close the books, and we move forward in those critical path type issues to deliver the project. But we won't lead with our chin on any of those projects.
Let me just,
Senator.
I shouldn't have used litigation so narrowly. Your agency, over the past decade, has developed a community engagement process that is nothing short of robust.
Yes.
And getting to yes on some of these projects may be more or less difficult depending where in the state they are and what the enthusiasm is to move forward. And I'm just trying to get a sense of how long they will linger before somebody, and I don't know who the somebody is, I'm deducing from what you guys said, the somebody could be the legislature, pronounces the patient expired.
Well, Madam Chair, Senator Johnson, I think there may come a point where if we cannot, reasonable people cannot agree, then we have to come back to this committee and say, we have exhausted all the avenues and can't come to closure.
Okay.
Senator Byer.
Madam